Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. It's the middle of the week. We're going to continue on with some electronic music. This one is by Björk, who is a name that I have heard many times actually, but I don't think I've ever listened to her music. So I'm kind of interested in kind of putting a sound to a name. And this one's called Army of Me, and it has a very interesting thumbnail that's kind of creeping me out. So let's get into this so we can move on with the with the video itself. There's a lot of weird imagery going on here. Another song, much like Monday's track, that really utilizes a sparse drum and bass with a very effortless sounding vocal style. There's a lot of unsettling tones in here as well, but they don't seem to be the foundational work. It's a lot of the environmental stuff.
You're on your own now. We won't say
Widening up the bass tone.
your rescue squad is too exhausted. And if you
Interesting build back into this chorus. There's a lot of grit to this though. It doesn't feel very pop to me. Another one of those just unsettling tones. Just shrill and almost dissonant. Even that one tone. There's like something odd about it. It almost, maybe it's a tonality thing. Maybe it's just because it doesn't sound like an instrument. Yeah, I'm at a loss for words here. Um, what was that first one? Portishead. That's what it was. This reminds me a lot of Portishead, actually. It's very sparse. Utilizes what sounds to be some production ideas to create tension and unsettlingness. A variety of ornamental sounds that add to the unsettling overall feeling of the song, and utilizing a single drum and bass concept as the foundational work for an entire song that doesn't really seem to move outside of its core idea and theme. But I'd say that this one goes about it in a slightly different way. Oh, it also uses a low effort sounding female vocalist on top of all that as well. But it goes about it in a slightly different way because it introduces what I would say is less of a pop sound. The Portishead one is definitely, I would say, a pop adjacent electronic track. It feels very poppy, but a lot of the unease stems from the production that makes it sound like it's it's old material, like there was degradation on the actual recording hardware. This puts the creepiness inside of the tones themselves. This doesn't sound like it's a cassette that you found in the middle of a forest. This sounds like it was intentionally created in modern times to have an unsettling edge to it at all moments of the song. It's not so much that they started with a tone and added an unsettling creepiness to it because of a real world connotation. Like I said, it sounds like there's hardware degradation, that the actual material that it's recorded onto is degrading. No, this is baked right into the tones of the instrument. It's not an overall tone or an overall aesthetic that the mix goes for. Each individual instrument sounds off in different ways. Sometimes I think it is tonality. The there's like a guitar-esque sound, very distorted, a little bit lower. It comes in, it goes brrrr, and it just kind of like drifts down. It kind of slopes off. Um, there's something very odd about it, and I said I think it was the tonality. It might be that it's actually just very dissonant, but a lot of the compression that's put on it and the distortion gives it some overtones and undertones that kind of lines up a little bit more with the sparse element of chord and harmony that we're given in the song. But in the same sense, even though those overtones and undertones are kind of lining up a little bit more with the notes that should be played, I would say that the ones that actually are being played are not in the key or not in the chords that are being played, and we're getting a lot of dissonance through the friction in those notes themselves against what is being played in the other instruments. With that said, though, this song is very sparse on any sort of melody and harmony. And it's something I didn't touch on with Portisheads, and I think it's because a lot of the eeriness was based on the production, not on the notes themselves. But we have a very static bass line, two, three, maybe four notes tops. We have a melody line that's sung by the lead singer. That's kind of all the information we have to go on about what key we're in, what chord we're singing over, what our chord progression is. We don't really have any strong triads or chords being held down in an underlying aspect or maybe even in the atmospheric playing to really tell us a a solid direct notation of what key or chord we're in. So it's very interesting that I can hear dissonance when really almost any note could be played, and I think it would get along just fine because there's such a brevity in the note selection as it stands. Now, the other thing that's really off is the vocals, I would say, more so than Portishead. For some reason, Portishead fit, and I think that's because it felt isolating. And the vocals tied into this idea of, a singular entity that is kind of lost or scared or isolated, alone in some sort, and there's no need for volume. The vocals fit with the atmosphere very well. This atmosphere, though, is kind of chaotic. We have tones coming in and out. We have loud, dissonant clashing of notes. There's all sorts of oddities popping in and out into the music outside of the drum, bass, and vocals. We just have these odd tones being thrown in. Sometimes they're very dissonant. Sometimes it's just a sound like that guitar tone, that the guitar comes in, it hits a note, it holds it, and it leaves. Now that happens to be one of the recurring elements, which is probably why I remember it more than the one-offs. But it hits its note and it leaves, and it just happens to slide out. And we hear it over and over and over, but it doesn't really add much musically. Once again, it's more of a textural thing. It's about the dissonance and compression that's utilized to make the song sound unsettling. But we have all of these noises almost fighting for dominance. It seems the longer the song goes on, the louder these noises get. The more dynamic they get, especially with their dissonance. At the beginning, I would say most of the stuff is rather consonant. We have some nice some nice note relationships going on. We don't really have anything that creates a lot of tension. It really is in the production of the sounds. But as we hit the middle of the song and we get closer to the end, the notes that are being picked are introducing dissonance, which adds on top of the production and the tones themselves, which is adding a level of creepiness. So the song constantly seems like there's something else vying for the spotlight, and yet the vocals remain calm and quiet and centered. And it seems to be in stark contrast to the rest of the song. You would think that if the song is getting louder, getting more chaotic, getting more crowded, the vocalist, the key instrument, the main melody line, the part that should be in the spotlight, would have the volume raised as well to remain in the spotlight. But it doesn't. It continues to have this low effort adjacent style of singing. Quiet, withheld, reserved, breathy, and sticks with it through the entire song. And I'm really trying to figure out where that fits into the music. It seems like it's at ends with the music itself. Like the vocalist is on a different wavelength than the music. And I think that's interesting. But I really don't know how all of it comes together. Especially since the song, once again, is a singular idea. We don't really hear much. There's no evolution of the song from one idea to another. There's no need for transitions because we're not moving between anything. It is a fairly static idea. But to add to it, we have this ridiculously bonkers music video where there's teeth in everything. Then she eventually goes to a dentist and finds a diamond in her mouth, and she beats up the dentist, who's a monkey. And then goes to a museum with her diamond, which is getting bigger. It fit in her mouth at one point, and by the next scene, she was carrying it, and it was larger than her torso. And then she bombs a museum to wake somebody up. I mean, The music video is all sorts of oddities. It's very Terry Gilliam, and I'm not really sure how it fits together. This could be one of those situations where they were done independently of each other. The song was there, and the video was then created and just paired with the song to make the music video for, YouTube or whatever. But I don't know. I'm very lost on this one. Oh, this was 95, so not to be put on YouTube, to be put on MTV. Wow, what a time. Oh, dang, this was 95 though. That kind of explains some of the lo-fi aesthetics of the visuals as well, like it being in 4:3 and having a bit of grain to it. 95. See, now that changes my relationship to the tones, because I was approaching this like um, a modern song with modern production values and modern production techniques and modern virtual instruments and synth tones. 95 though. Now it really blows my mind because I have no idea how any. It sounds like a modern song, right? Oh man, I mean, electronic kind of has that element of being ahead of the curve, because the only thing that you're restrained by is processing power. And even then, I'm pretty sure that you could render advanced stuff. It would just take a while on older hardware. Um, but yeah, I mean, this sounds like a modern. I would not have pegged this for almost 20 years old, almost 30 years. Oh my God. Yeah, almost 30 years old. We're talking about like 26? 4 more years? Yeah, about 26 years old. Golly. Yeah, now I'm even more confused. If you guys once again have any information, I'm probably going to say this a lot this week because I mentioned on Monday that electronica or electronic music is just so outside of my wheelhouse. All of my normal talking points and what I typically listen for in music and what I've trained mostly to check out and tune into isn't really as present as seen in the last. Wow, all three songs we've checked out this week have been static, focusing on a single idea, haven't necessarily embraced strong melodic elements. There's nothing that I typically listen for on the advanced side, like complex rhythmic elements, polymeters, polymetric stuff, time signature changes, chordal structure, song structure. These are all very simple songs as far as the music is on paper. So, a lot of the intricacies, I would say, come in from the lyrics and the production. So, if you have any information you'd like to educate me on what this song is about, maybe how the themes tie into the music, anything like that, hit me up in the comments. Let me know. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree, which is a very nice place. It has a menu with buttons and icons, and it'll take you to all sorts of places related to the channel. Maybe you'd like to join the Discord community, support me through Patreon, follow me on Twitter, send in a special selection. All those links are there and more. Above the description box, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. We have one more video today. It'll launch in about 10 minutes. And then I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.